Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Daniel Hall sitting in for Lang Jiang. Here's a preview of some of our top stories today. Certain cities in the state have pushed for allowing non-citizens to vote in school board elections. One lawyer is working against that. We'll hear how he says these changes violate the state constitution. A student rally was held on a San Jose campus. They rallied ahead of personnel from the Department of Justice attending the campus. And young professionals are leaving the state. On top of that, housing prices are expected to drop. That's also as rankings came out for the whole country, and California's biggest cities did not fare well. In the wake of the LA City Council scandal, the new acting president says redistricting needs to move forward. The city has not changed its districts in just under 100 years.
5 LA City Council members propose an increase to the number of council districts in Los Angeles. Acting Council President Mitch O'Farrell introduced the motion on Tuesday, and 4 more members signed on later. The motion came after a leaked conversation between 3 council members that included racial slurs and discussions over how to redraw district boundaries in their favor. O'Farrell said, over the last few days, as we process and deal with the fallout from the audio recordings of several council members, we must not lose sight of the fact that the leaked conversation revolved around the redistricting process. Ensuring fair, equitable, accountable representation in Los Angeles is a must, now more than ever. The number of LA council districts has stayed at 15 since 1925. The city's population has more than tripled since then. The motion calls for redistricting and suggests the number of council seats reflect the city's population growth. O'Farrell said, quote, "This council should reflect and represent the residents that we serve. The number of council seats is set by the city charter and can only be adjusted via a charter amendment approved by the voters. The ballot measure may come before the voters in 2024.
Non-citizens can participate in California elections in certain cities, but one lawyer is doing what he can to stop that based on the state's constitution. He says there are ethical reasons behind his actions, too.
Several California cities have taken measures to allow non-citizens to vote in school board elections. In August, James Lacey, an attorney and political commentator, sued the city of Oakland for that kind of measure. He explains to California Insider's Siamak Karami why it violates the California Constitution and Elections Code.
When you stop and think about, well, all right, a person who is a non-citizen is certainly a citizen of somewhere else.
Of another country.
Of another country, right. And by not giving up that citizenship and seeking U.S. citizenship, what you're allowing to happen is individuals to come in who haven't professed an allegiance to this nation and who might be unwilling to give up citizenship in another nation that doesn't afford them the same democratic voting rights that we do.
Back in March, Lacey sued and won the case against San Francisco that overturned the controversial law that allows non-citizens to vote in the city's local election.
4 years ago, on the 3rd or 4th attempt at a ballot initiative, progressives in San Francisco by 54% passed a law that allowed for non-citizens to vote in school board elections. The underlying idea being to allow non-citizens who are parents of kids in schools to have some sort of a say in who was elected to their school board.
The law had a sunset provision to extend it to be citywide. So when the Board of Supervisors voted to extend the law, Lacey was able to sue it within a 60-day window, challenging its constitutionality.
So we went ahead and we filed for what's called a writ of mandate to have a permanent injunction on extending that vote. And our argument was that under a clear provision of the California Constitution, only citizens of the United States 18 years or older may vote. And it's alarming that this ballot initiative even got on the ballot and was allowed to have a vote, and it was a failure of the attorneys who advised the cities.
Eventually, the judge ruled in favor of Lacey's argument and won. Lacey points out that in a close election where the outcome is decided by a handful of votes and non-citizens voted, the election would effectively be decided by their presence. He said it undermines the integrity of the entire voting process.
To watch the full program, find California Insider on YouTube or Epic TV on the Epic Times website. Personnel from the Department of Justice are visiting a Silicon Valley university this week. This comes as a student group rallies for the campus to do more in preventing sexual harassment. NTD's David Lamb reports.
What kind of power?
People power!
Who got the power?
We got the power!
What kind of power?
People power!
Members of the Students Against Sexual Assault group rallied on San Jose State University on Wednesday. They're calling the school to take a stronger stance against sexual misconduct. In September 2021, the Department of Justice reported that SJSU did not fully comply with federal prohibitions against sex discrimination under Title IX. The school and the DOJ entered a resolution agreement.
SJSU was found by the Department of Justice to be in violation of federal Title IX legislation. SJSU failed to respond to 10 years of student reporting being sexually assaulted by an athletic trainer on our campus. The DOJ found that because of SJSU's negligence and active measures to hide reports and retaliate against those reporting, more students were sexually assaulted.
Former athletics trainer Scott Shaw was accused of sexually harassing students.
We are currently standing in front of Tower Hall. This week, the Department of Justice is holding office hours here in room 110 to hear from the campus community about concerns regarding sexual discrimination and the university's efforts to respond to sexual assault in its Title IX office.
The student group rallies outside, asking for three things from the university: the release of the CSU Chancellor's Office investigative report that was completed in May, the removal of the staff involved in the case regarding the former athletics trainer.
In all this time that they're failing to release those, we as a campus and as students don't know if the staff that are on our campus were involved, and if they are continuing to be involved by being on this campus.
And lastly, they want all 6 positions of the Title IX office to be staffed. SJSU said in a statement that they searched diligently for experienced Title IX professional staff, which has been a challenge for colleges and universities across the country, but were able to add 4 new members since February, including a Title IX investigator.
Our students deserve better. The survivors deserve justice. We deserve a campus that is responsive to sexual violence and sex discrimination.
The university said they've cooperated fully with the DOJ throughout the investigation and during the implementation of the resolution agreement, and will continue to search to staff the team. The Students Against Sexual Assault group plans to have another rally on November 2nd, and by that time, they hope to have the released findings from the Chancellor's investigative report, as well as updates from the Department of Justice. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
A recent study revealed that rich young professionals are fleeing more from certain states compared to others. The main reason is the high cost of living.
Young professionals are leaving California for greener pastures, and the reason comes down to money. Sarah Gerber is one of the many who left. She is founder of Momentum Financial Planning and wanted to leave California for a while. She finally moved to Colorado with her husband in January 2021.
I'm originally from Illinois. I grew up with horses and goats on a farm outside Chicago and was excited for just more space. Excited to kind of be able to buy a house somewhere, be able to prepare for a family and really kind of do those next life things. And while we loved Berkeley so much, it was just time. It was ready. And he got a job out up here near Broomfield. And we thought it was time to make the leap.
During pandemic lockdowns, San Francisco saw the largest median income drop in the country as wealthy tech workers left in droves. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau shows median household income from the San Francisco, Berkeley, and Oakland area fell nearly 5% in the last 3 years. It is the largest decrease among the 25 most populous U.S. cities studied. People are not just leaving the Bay Area, but the state. According to new research by the Census Bureau and Harvard University, rich young professionals are leaving California and New York for places like Texas and Florida. Between 2019 and 2020, the study looked at individuals younger than age 35 with adjusted gross incomes of at least $100,000. California saw a net migration of about minus 8,000, with 20,000 people moving in and 28,000 moving out. New York saw double that, with a net migration of about minus 16,000, with about 13,000 moving in and 29,000 moving out. Both Texas and Florida saw a net migration of over 3,000, Texas plus 3,800 and Florida plus 3,400. In an email statement to NTD, the managing editor of financial education at Smart Asset said one reason is affordability. Florida and Texas, which are the two states that gain the most rich young professionals, levy no income tax and have a reputation for affordability. In addition, a recent poll from UC Berkeley shows 49% of Californians are in favor of Proposition 30. It would increase taxes for those who make more than $2 million by 1.75%. These funds would go to zero-emissions vehicles and wildfire prevention programs. Prop 30 will be on the ballot this November.
Speaking of the high cost of living, buying homes in California is no joke, as housing prices have skyrocketed recently. But buying a home in the state may become less expensive next year, according to market forecasts.
The California Association of Realtors, or CAR, released its housing market forecast on Wednesday. The median home price in California is forecasted to drop to about $758,000 in 2023. Although it's still a hefty number, that's an 8.8% decrease from the projected value of about $831,000 in 2022. According to CAR, California prices have been steadily increasing since 2016, with a large spike in prices in 2021. They shot up 19.3% that year. 2023 is the first expected negative change in prices since then. A recent Zillow report showed that the average price of a home in Southern California has dropped 6% since May. That's the biggest drop since 2012. But despite dropping prices, housing affordability is expected to drop too. The number of people who can afford median-priced homes is expected to decrease to 18% next year from the projected 19% in 2022.
We're going to take a short break now, but here's a look at all of the great stories we've got ready for you when we come back. Imports are dropping to the state's busiest ports. They're now hitting lows not seen since the beginning of lockdowns. And digital license plates are coming to the state. We'll hear from the one company that is authorized to make them. That and more on California Today. High inflation, record fuel costs, and a slowing economy caused a sharp decline in U.S. imports. They're at the lowest level since pandemic lockdowns.
U.S. imports declined to the lowest level since the pandemic started due to high inflation, record fuel costs, and a slowing economy. Chris Jones, Executive Vice President of Industry and Services at Descartes, said, quote, "The decline in Chinese imports was the greatest driver of the overall decrease in U.S. imports." Chinese imports in September were down 18% compared to the month before. Despite the drop in volume, the supply chain continues to struggle with delivering backed-up cargo. The length of time containers lingered at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach has remained high. The Retail Federation said that some of the slowdowns can be attributed to stores stocking up early for the holiday season. On the other hand, the demand for merchandise reduced due to the high inflation. Chapman University professor Pradeep Shukla said that American consumers are having to tighten their spending because of the highest inflation in about 40 years. Another trend Shukla reported was with students and younger consumers who prefer to spend their money on experiences and travel, and not as much on tangible items. The ongoing computer chip shortage is also expected to continue and have a worldwide impact on automobile and electronics manufacturing well into mid-2023 or later. The National Retail Association reported that imports are expected to reach even lower numbers by the end of the year.
A former California attorney was sentenced last week for his involvement with the notorious Sinaloa cartel. The U.S. Attorney's Office had previously designated him under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act for laundering money for top cartel leaders.
41-year-old Juan Manuel Alvarez Inzuza of San Diego was sentenced in a federal court after pleading guilty earlier this year to one count of conspiracy to launder monetary instruments. According to prosecutors, Alvarez Inzuza coordinated the movement of more than $4 million in drug proceeds for the Sinaloa cartel. He was involved with top cartel leadership, including Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and Ismael El Mayo Zambada. He arranged for couriers to pick up drug money in the United States and worked with people to transfer the funds to Mexico and other countries. Frederick Carroll, Alvarez Inzuza's attorney, wrote in a sentencing brief that his client previously worked as a civil attorney in Mexico. He said, quote, "A series of small decisions to work with these people ultimately resulted in a situation where he could not extricate himself from his newfound employer, a situation he deeply regrets now." Alvarez Inzuza was indicted and arrested in Mexico in 2015 and was extradited to the United States last year. A San Diego federal judge sentenced him to 188 months in prison. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Digital license plates are now an approved option for all drivers in California. NTD's Jason Blair spoke with a company who makes the plates to find out more about their features, benefits, and possible risks.
California will now allow digital license plates as a legal alternative to conventional plates. After a pilot program, Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill last month making the option available to all businesses and residents across the state.
The way that, government's been set up when it comes to compliance and, dealing with your license plate, it's usually kind of an arduous process. And our biggest thing is to simplify it.
Boston said that their digital plate is an e-ink bistable screen that is Bluetooth enabled and has an LTE connection. It allows the owner to renew their registration without having to step foot in a DMV. Other benefits include visual personalization options and safety features.
So we're able to track your mileage, geofence, particular locations, be able to streamline, your maintenance and, all kinds of other things through our platform.
Boston says that within about 30 days, towing will also be available to do through the plate, and in 2023, they plan on integrating parking. Reviver is so far the only company that makes digital license plates that have been approved for use. In addition to plates for personal use, the company also makes one for business fleets. Like the personal one, it has the advantage of keeping vehicles in DMV compliance, but also has other useful capabilities.
We have, safety and security alerts. Like if your vehicle was stolen, you can actually put stolen on the plate. Inclement weather, alerts and things like that. Our platform enables the ability for you to do that.
While these features sound great, some people might be wondering about the privacy and security risks.
People's information is sacrosanct, and I would say that we are focused on making sure that the data that you have, you control. So with our GPS unit, you have the ability to turn it on and off. So the user has control over that data and information.
Boston also said that the platform is more secure than an online banking session. In addition to California, Michigan, and Arizona also have the option for digital plates for all drivers. In Texas, they are available for commercial fleets, and Florida for government use. Personal plates run about $20 a month or $215 if paid yearly with a 4-year commitment. Commercial plates run about $25 a month and $275 if paid yearly. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
Now we're going to take it over to NTD's Thomas Christian for your sports roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
Saul Canelo Alvarez has said he will fly to the United States for surgery on his left wrist that could keep him out of the ring until next September. The Mexican boxer, who beat rival Gennady Golovkin for the second time last month to complete their trilogy of bouts, had said after his victory in Las Vegas that he needed surgery. Canelo told reporters, quote, "I have 2 other opinions from 2 doctors, and we're going to see what's best for me and have my surgery. September is possibly when I return. We'll see what's best." On his return, Canelo could seek a rematch with Russian Dmitry Bivol, the only fighter other than Floyd Mayweather Jr. to defeat him. Bivol retained the WBA light heavyweight title after beating Alvarez by unanimous decision in May. And just like that, we've got a series on our hands. The Padres have evened up the National League Division Series against the Dodgers 1-1 with a 5-3 victory on Wednesday night. This series is proving to be a matchup of 2 sides unafraid to swing for the fences. Fans are the real ones winning. This game featured 5 home runs and 20 hits between the Dodgers and the Padres. Manny Machado homered in the first to give San Diego an early lead, but Freddie Freeman answered right back in the bottom of the first inning with his own solo shot to make it 1-1. The 2 dugouts sparred run for run until Urickson Profar singled to the right in the top of the 6th, sending Jake Cronenworth home for a tie-breaking 4-3 lead. Cronenworth homered again in the 8th inning to seal the win, and Josh Hader recorded a save in his 1 inning of relief. San Diego's Yu Darvish went 5 innings, recording 7 strikeouts, but allowing 3 runs and 7 hits in the process. Dodgers starting pitcher Clayton Kershaw allowed 3 runs on 6 hits while recording 6 strikeouts in 5 innings pitched. The series now moves to Petco Park in San Diego for a tie-breaking Game 3 of this NLDS on Friday. Padres 5, Dodgers 3. Los Angeles wide receiver Cooper Kupp didn't participate in practice Wednesday due to an undisclosed foot injury. Rams head coach Sean McVay said earlier on Wednesday that the team is trying to just, quote, be smart with Kupp and other key contributors. Kupp himself was unavailable to the media that day too. The Rams have had difficulty getting their offense to produce, going from the balanced attack that won them the Super Bowl last year to an approach that relies heavily on Kupp connecting with QB Matthew Stafford. The extra mileage on Kupp may have contributed to him being banged up a bit, and if he isn't available for the Rams matchup Sunday against the Carolina Panthers, it will be very interesting to see how they divvy up Kupp's average of 11 targets per game amongst their other, lesser receivers.
And that's all for the sports.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd love for you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcast on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jang. Have a wonderful evening.